Welcome to the Bruce Williams channel. In this video, I would like to showcase this Atelier Wen Perception V2. I'm excited to talk about all the aspects, share my own opinion on the quality and the value represented here. I'm going to try to be as objective as possible in talking about the strong elements and talking about the weak elements. And I'm excited to report that this is the subject of a free giveaway to anyone watching this video. Now, before I get to the giveaway, this watch is proudly handcrafted in China and it's priced at $3,288. So it's not an insignificant amount of money. It's a very stiff part of the market when it comes to competition. And watch collectors are rightly so very picky about how to spend, roughly $3,000. And so when we consider China in our mind's eye as collectors, a lot of us think of this country, which has a lot to do with the watch industry. A lot of us think about this country as the destination for where micro brands are made, or where affordable watches are made, or where fashion watches are made, or where replicas are made, or where some well-known Swiss brands have significant component production for their quote-unquote Swiss-made watches. And we're not necessarily thinking about China as a destination for a luxury-priced watch in the same way that we look to countries like Switzerland or Japan or Germany with a different type of perspective. But I think that Atelier Wen aims to change that perception in part with this Perception V2. So let's get to the giveaway. This is made possible by this video's sponsor, Extropian.co. Extropian is a platform that is dedicated to micro brands and independent watch brands like Atelier Wen. There are over 8,500 watches in its database, and that's growing every day. On Extropian, you can see upcoming models, you can search for current releases or past releases. And if we do that here with this Atelier Wen, you'll see all of the watches that have previously been released from the brand, including this upcoming Perception V2. Let's click on this and you will see a lot of information. There are all the relevant specifications. There is a link to the brand website. There's a section for YouTube reviews. But unfortunately, I think this is the first video of the Perception V2 that's on YouTube. So this place is currently blank, but I'm sure this will get populated in the coming weeks and months. And then you'll see a space for related articles. And again, there's quite a lot of information here. Some other things you can do on Extropian is utilize the watch book, keep track of your own independent and micro brand collections. You can utilize the used marketplace and buy and sell and trade your own watches. You can cross compare up to 5 watches on the platform, and you can track pricing trends with a price aggregator. So really there is quite a bit to do here on Extropian, and it is best suited for those of you who absolutely love micros and independent watches. It's free to join, and there is also a newsletter you can sign up for, which is what I will ask you to do if you want to enter this giveaway. So I'll demonstrate how to do it. You just enter your email address here. I'll take myself out of the running for this watch, just so you're aware. But again, just enter your email and you are signed up for the giveaway. That's all you'll need to do. This is open right now and it closes on January 31st, 2024. So at the end of this month. At the end of the month, I will take all of the entries and I will use wheelofnames.com to randomly spin and select a winner. I'll reach out to you directly with the email you provide. I'll copy Atelier Wen, I'll copy Extropian, and I'll coordinate your shipping information. Now, for all of you interested, I do want to do a follow-up video where I show the spin, and then I also present either a picture or a wrist roll from the winner wearing this Perception V2. So I will ask the winner to provide either a picture or a quick clip with their camera of this winning watch that you will get brand new from Atelier Wen. Now let's get to the review of this Atelier Wen Perception V2. The first thing that I notice, the thing that really jumps out, is this very detailed, very dynamic dial. This is hand turned on a Rose engine, and it takes 8 hours to create one dial, so very labor intensive, and it shows. This looks fantastic under the sapphire crystal that has 10 layers of anti-reflective coatings applied. The texture is tight near the hand stack, and then it flares out toward the raised outer index track. To me, the texture reminds me of ripples on a body of water. The angled applied markers that are polished and cut into the dial kind of remind me of a boat launch. So it's a very dynamic dial, and it just looks fantastic. It's very crisp, and around the circumference you will see a Huai-Wen geometric index pattern that will be fully loomed. Now, I'm happy to say that the loom is fantastic. It's X1 grade BGW9 from Super Luminova. There will be no text on the dial outside of the branding here, just below the 12 o'clock marker. So I think it's a very strong, balanced design. And I like the fact that there is no date here. I think a date, even if it was tastefully placed down at the 6 o'clock position, would still take somewhat away from the symmetry and the visual strength of the overall design. I'm happy to say that I think this looks very clean, very finely executed under the macro lens. And again, it's my favorite aspect about the watch. Now let's zoom out and talk about the case. This is very linear when it comes to the design, and the end of the case is slightly angled. It looks like it's horizontal, north and south, but there's actually a small break right in the center, very much like the Great Pyramid of Egypt, which looks flat, but on each side there is a crease line right in the middle that you don't necessarily notice at first. So this is not all harsh lines through and through. There are some nice curved elements like the curved case corners, the concave shaped bezel. That's also found on the crystal surround on the case back. I think this has a good mix of the angular and the curvaceous. That's a very attractive design. Now this watch sits low, it sits thin on the wrist. I think it's very comfortable. There is a lot of wrist presence here when it comes to the watch, and a wrist roll will really show off that hand-polished chamfered edge found on the case and also on all of these links on the integrated bracelet. And you really don't see hand finishing or hand polishing when it comes to the edges on a watch that cost around $3,000. And the same could be said with the Rose engine turning of the dial. So those are elements that really bring a lot of value to the overall package. Now let's talk about this clasp. This is rather short. It's not too long, but it still is substantial. I really like this ingenious telescoping blade that carries the signature of the brand. So when you open the clasp, that telescopes out, and it allows you to put on or take off the watch easier while still retaining a short length with the overall clasp. I think that is evidence of really nice engineering. There is also a deeply embossed logo, which is the push button for the quick adjustment system. You can add to or take away length of the bracelet on the fly without the need of a tool with that feature, and I'm really happy to see that here with the clasp. Now let's talk about the not so good of the case and bracelet. It really comes down to one thing. I've noticed the bracelet brushing here on this tapering bracelet is just a little bit different from the very defined and granular brushing that is noticeable on the case. So it's almost like there's a small mismatch when it comes to the brushwork. And it's not a big deal, but I find it important to mention on a watch of this price. Now let's talk about the movement. This is the Dandong SL1588. It will have 32 different jewels, a 4 Hz beat frequency, and 41 hours of power reserve. As far as finishing goes, there is Geneva striping, both vertical and circular. There is purling and anglage and heat-blued screws. So very traditional when it comes to the execution, and I think very tasteful. There is also a black coated tungsten rotor that's nice and heavy and dense, and that will help with the unidirectional winding of the caliber, which I find sometimes audible. It's a lot quieter than, say, a Miyota or a Valjoux with that unidirectional winding, but I want to mention it. This movement will be regulated in 5 different positions and also tested by the Horological Research Institute of Light Industry in China. also known as the HRILI. It will be accurate to a window of plus or minus 10 seconds per day and partially visible behind a hybrid style caseback. So most of the caseback is deeply embossed. The design is a stone guardian lion, very traditional. I think it looks fantastic. It's nice and defined. But fortunately, there are no hot spots here while you're wearing the watch, so I'm really impressed with that. The mouth of this Stone Guardian Lion is the display portion of the hybrid caseback, and I'm happy to also say that there is 10 layers of ARC on this on the crystal on the caseback of the watch. Now, in full transparency, I have noticed that the movement isn't as crisp and clean when it comes to the macro level. This is noticeable on the Edicron style regulation system. It looks a little bit dirty. There is also a damaged screw just below the balance plate. And in full transparency, I have no experience with Dandong, so I don't know if this is commonplace or more of a one-off type of situation. I have to say the cleanliness under the macro lens is a little bit disappointing. The accuracy specs, the power reserve, the finishing, they are a bit pedestrian, so maybe there are some collectors out there that would have liked to see Atelier Wen use a Swiss-made movement or a German movement or a Japanese movement, but at the same time, that probably would have raised the price and it wouldn't be an entirely Chinese-made watch, which goes against what Atelier Wen is aiming to do here. So I just wanted to note the positives and the negatives here in regards to the movement. Other things that I'd like to mention, this watch has 100 meters of water resistance, a thread down style crown. This has an excellent wood presentation box, which is lacquered and painted blue. There is an included extra rubber strap, which is nice to see. It adds a little bit of value to the overall package. And this will come with a very nice clasp with the Atelier Wen logo and also that telescoping blade, which I think, again, is great engineering. The watch has a 5-year warranty, and Atelier Wen says that they have created enough parts to last for decades. When it comes to repairing and servicing this watch, there is a healthy backstock there, which can be a concern with an independent brand or a micro brand. Now let's get to my honest opinion about this watch and its value. I think that this has a very impressive dial. I just can't stress enough how lovely it looks, how eye-catching it is. This is my favorite part about the watch. The fact that it is hand engine turned, as well as the case and bracelet chamfered edges being hand polished, you just don't see that at this price. So I think that adds a lot of value just in those two aspects. The clasp is really well engineered and executed. I love that telescoping blade. I really enjoy the quick adjustment system. I think the case back embossing is very sharp. Again, no hot spots on that. And then the X1 grade BGW9 is very potent, very long lasting. This watch has an excellent presence to it. The light reflections are top notch. I really think that this is a watch that Atelier Wen can be proud of. They are attempting to place China on that horological map in ways that they may not have been in years past. So I think some will really think that this offers a ton of value, even at that $3,288 price point. But there are some negative aspects. There are some areas that fall a little bit short. I mentioned the mismatched brushing of the case and the bracelet. I mentioned the movement specs and the finishing of the movement under the macro lens. That leaves something to be desired right there. But I want to mention one thing. Atelier Wen has taken feedback from customers from their version 1 perception, and they've applied it here to the version 2. And so I think that's demonstrating that the brand wants to improve. They want to go to the next level. And I have every confidence that if they do a version 3, it will be even better than this V2. So when all is said and done, I think some collectors will be very enthusiastic about this, and there will be some others that would rather put the same budget into a more known commodity to them. For myself, I appreciate what Atelier Wen has done, and I can recognize the weaknesses, and hopefully they address those in future watches. I want to thank Atelier Wen and Extropian for the opportunity to film this Perception V2 and to run the giveaway. I hope all of you have excellent luck with that spin. Links will be below. Please reach out with any questions. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and please subscribe to my channel for more content like this. See you next time.